Hello, it's another beautiful sunny Sunday morning here in Skennick, Pennsylvania. It's November. We've got about 2 days of warm weather left, at which time I'm going to have to pack things up and vacate this garage until the spring. Today we're experimenting with a regen radio kit named the Ozark Patrol. The Ozark Patrol is made by the State QRP Group, and you can find them on the internet. There is a link to the Ozark Patrol in the description below the video. I have an assembled Ozark Patrol right here. It's got a beautiful front panel. Here is the regeneration control. And on the back is where most of the parts are mounted, which is actually a printed circuit board. I wasn't satisfied with how much audio I could get out of here, so I've mounted a little LM386 amplifier module behind the front panel. I've been in contact with a couple guys on the internet, George Conant and Vic Rodriguez, and we've been wondering if anything could be changed in the circuit that would improve it. So, I have here a partially assembled Ozark Patrol. The radio is built on the back plane, but the little 2-transistor audio amplifier is on this solderless breadboard. The reason for that is so I can substitute parts and see if I can get any more performance out of it. And I have to tell you that this is one darn good circuit, because nothing I've done has improved it one iota, other than to change the transistors. If I use transistors that have a higher gain, I can get more audio output out of it. Let's take a look at these transistors. This is a 2N3019. It came with the kit. It's a beautiful transistor in a metal case. And it has a gain of 46. Let's compare that with an SC458. The SC458 has a gain of 204. So if we were to replace the 2N3019s with the SC458s, we will get an increase in volume. Here's a close-up of the solderless breadboard. I don't have any real schooling in electronics, but I just keep plugging away at it until I see an increase in performance. That's how great inventors worked, like Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison tried over 100 different substances before he invented lightning. Samuel Morse spent years perfecting his polygraph, and Alexander Graham Bell worked for months before he made a working xylophone. So I am trying to follow in their footsteps. Since we know that swapping parts isn't going to work, our other option is to use that external LM386 amplifier module. So today's experiment will be, what part of this circuit do we use to feed that module? We've got 2 transistors, Q2 and Q3, and here they are on the schematic. There's Q2, there's Q3. We can take the audio signal from the collector of Q2, or we can take the audio signal from the collector of Q3. So we'll get the external amplifier out and see which one works better. We'll turn the volume of the Ozark Patrol up to about halfway, and then we'll turn the volume of the external amplifier up about a third and see how that sounds. Now, this external amplifier has an LM386 module that's very similar to the one that's in the other Ozark Patrol. And if I like the way this turns out, I've got a couple more of these kits to make more of those modules. Now, these come from China. They're only a couple dollars a piece. So, all right, some nice religious programming. We all need religious programming. Why these preachers think that everyone has a shortwave radio is beyond me. I told my daughter I was going to give her a shortwave radio, and she said, "What's shortwave radio?" Not that she needs religious programming, but I'm just using this as an audio source. Okay, I'll turn this guy on, and we will go to Q2.
say when you've done it.
All right, let's disconnect the internal speaker.
And so Balaam, you know, he's a great man. And so he got to thinking, I guess, well, yeah, well, they tell them to do something simple.
That doesn't sound too bad.
Now, these scholars are
All right, let's go to transistor Q3. Wow.
And the is, you can prove this. That was, you said, well, they didn't have no vowels in Hebrew.
Well, there's plenty of volume here.
You need to get that out of your
Ear splitting.
look up a thing called Mothers of Region. And I can't say the word that.
So it appears that to connect the external amplifier to the Ozark Patrol, you take it off of the collector of Q3.
And the blah, the W. And they said, Hebrew Greek.
Encourage the sincere believers within Israel to keep faith with God and keep on trusting
you can
Him
still,
in the face of all contrary.
from the front panel, you still use the volume control. In other words, you don't have to play with this LM386 module because it's controlled from the front panel.
Fulfills prophecy. Albert Knudsen has stated there are two classes of preachers: the good preachers who.
So set it and forget it. That's a big difference.
Such are the prophets. Let's look at Jeremiah 14:14. Then the Lord said unto me,
gmail.com. Once again, that's VORWINFO@gmail.com. VORWINFO@gmail.com.
Did you get that?
Warner Robins, Georgia, who would like to hear the selection of We Didn't Start the Fire by Billy Joel.
Wow, that's almost too much. Let's go back to here. Now see, that's not enough.
Channel 0 hours, 49 minutes.
Well, I guess it's just a decision you have to make. I think if we go to Q2, it sounds better. Now we do have to put the volume up a lot higher.
CHU, Canada, Coordinated Universal Time, 0 hours, 50 minutes.
Okay, this is full volume on both. And this is what it sounds like. Full volume with just the Ozark Patrol. And you can see now how disappointing the volume can be. All of these wires that are hanging out here, these might be picking up a lot of interference. Once I get rid of those wires, I can attach it to Q3. If I don't like it, I can always drop it back down to Q2. All right, let's continue building the kit. We'll build a little amplifier. There should be a little printed circuit board in here. Here's the base that came with the kit. I just have a piece of scrap wood on there. This is a real nice piece of pine. And I put 2 coats of lacquer on it, clear lacquer. now it's 36 hours later. I've been running around doing yard work and painting while I still have some warm weather. I came out here last night to finish up the Ozark Patrol and my hands got so cold I had to go back in the house. But it's done, and I'll show you what we have here. I couldn't make up my mind where I wanted to take the audio output from, either this transistor or this transistor. So I put in a switch and I can toggle it. Here's the volume control to the little amplifier. Here is the gimmick capacitor to the antenna. Now I measured this at 5 picofarads and the schematic calls for 1.5. So if the radio is not selective enough, I'll start cutting this down. Now let's put some batteries in it and see how it works. I'll use these same dollar store batteries that I had in it before. All we need now is the antenna and the ground. For this test, I'm taking the audio from transistor Q2. I have the external amplifier volume set at 100%, and I've got a station tuned in here. Okay, the Ozark Patrol volume is at 100%. Now we'll switch transistors to transistor Q3. I'm going to back the volume off of the external amplifier.
Estamos hoje com ele, com uma das vozes mais importantes dos primeiros anos da transição da Espanha pós-franquista e dos anos posteriores. Tchau.
ídolos vos purificarei. Dar-vos-ei coração novo, e porém tirarei de vós o coração de pedra, e vos darei coração de carne. Que andeis nos meus estatutos, guardeis os meus juízos e os
Okay, so it seems that the up position, transistor Q3, is the one that you would use the most. So I think what I may do is get rid of the switch, move this back here, and make this base shorter, and perhaps put this in a cabinet. Now I noticed there's a little bit of hand capacitance, but that's because my hands were right into the antenna and the ground. But I think if it was in a case, and the case was shielded with aluminum or copper foil, that would be like the ultimate. I'll show you this case that George Conant made. He actually made two cases, one's nicer than the other. I'll show you this plain one here. I like that cabinet because it looks like it would be easy to build. Now, if you're like me and you're lacking in woodworking skills and tools, here are some tips on how to make a decent cabinet. First of all, go to the hardware store and they sell the wood already cut to different widths. Just determine which width cabinet that you want to make and buy the wood of the appropriate width. Tip number 2. After you carefully measure your panels, and I suggest that you make a drawing first, because you're going to have a top and a bottom and sides, and they'll have to match up. When you draw your horizontal line, use a square. Don't use a greeting card like I once did. Some things that look like they're square actually aren't. And the next tip, L brackets. If you clamp L brackets onto the panels while the glue's drying, it'll make sure they come out square. You don't want to have a panel that's out of square, or it will become very apparent once you put the front panel of the Ozark Patrol inside. We don't have any dovetail joints in this cabinet, and we don't want to rely on just the glue to hold it together. So once the glue dries, remove your L brackets, and you'll need 4 exact same size pieces of this square or rectangular dowel. Glue them into the corners, and where you place them will determine where you're going to screw in the front panel and the back panel if you don't want to leave it open. When I make my little cabinet for the radio, I think I'm going to assemble the top and the 2 sides. I'll get rid of the pine base and mount all these parts on the bottom panel of the cabinet. Then I can just drop the top with the 2 sides down on top of the bottom panel and glue them together. Now if I don't leave the back open, I will hinge it on the bottom so it will open from the top, and as it opens, the battery holder will be on the inside of the back panel so that they're readily accessible to replace the batteries. Now there's one more thing I would like to address now that you've watched this video to the very end without fast forwarding. And I hope you didn't fast forward, because if you fast forwarded, you missed the part about the great Ozark Patrol giveaway contest. The Ozark Patrol works excellent with headphones. If you're only going to use headphones, there's no reason to do any of the modifications in this video. If you do modify it, keep in mind that the headphone jack is no longer connected to the speaker. So you'll have to turn it around and turn the volume down on the little LM386 amplifier. Otherwise you'll be hearing the radio out of the speaker and the headphones at the same time. I just got an email. Someone wants to know, hey Mike, can I run my Ozark Patrol from a 9-volt adapter? Well, I thought I'd give it a try, and I've run into 2 problems. Problem 1 is the 9-volt adapter, when you measure the output, is greater than 9 volts with no load on it. And the second problem is the filtering. All you get is a bunch of humming, and because it's over voltage, I can't control the regeneration. The regeneration control is at the minimum, and I can't turn it off. But I had a great idea. Suppose we plug it into the outlet without the adapter. So I've got an AC cord here. All we need to do is connect the AC cord to the little battery holder, unplug the adapter, and plug in the cord. I don't hear anything at all. It works worse with no adapter than it does with the adapter. It's like stone dead.
November the 4th, 2024, from 0800 to 0900 hours, UTC, European Standard Time, on 7325 kHz. Program details: Romanian news and sports, music, signing. Reception quality.
I got it working again. For some reason, some of the parts seem to have overheated. Well, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. Bye. Well, it's not even 24 hours later, and we have an update already. First of all, this bottle was round last time I drank out of it, so it shows you how the temperature's going down here in the garage. But the actual update is due to a comment by XPFTP, who suggested that we remove the capacitor that controls the gain to the little amplifier. And that worked really well. Here's the new configuration. First of all, I got rid of the switch and the associated wiring. here's where the capacitor is located. And now, like magic, I'll remove the capacitor. Just like pulling a tooth. Actually, I had already unsoldered that. Do not try to remove a capacitor by pulling it out. Now with the amplifier gain lowered, I have a lot more latitude in the volume control knob.
I want to be in charge. I want to run my life. I want to call the shots. Self-will is more important than God's.
So there's nothing much on right now because it's too early. But you get the idea.
I want my life this way. I want my job this way. I want my church this way. I want my spouse this way. I want my kids this way. I want my career.
I want my radio this way. So what we have is the volume control on the little amplifier is up about 3/4 of the way instead of 1/4. So I can still make it louder. But this is perfect.
Hindrance to a thankful heart would be worldliness. Worldliness, the love of the world. You say, what do you mean by that? Well, someone whose vision is filled with trivial things.
My vision is filled with regen radios. Well, there you go. We'll take the output from transistor Q3, and when you build your little amplifier, leave that part out, and I'll show you which part it is. This diagram is from the spec sheet that comes with the LM386. Notice between pins 1 and 8, there's a 10 microfarad capacitor. That gives you a gain of 200. That's the capacitor that I removed. In this diagram, it's not there anymore, and the gain is 20. So when you're building your little kit, just leave that part out. Now, if you don't want to build a kit, there are plenty of them on sale that are already made, and I kind of like this one because there's a jumper on it. You can remove or replace the jumper and change the gain. Now here is the final schematic, and you can see how simple it is to hook this up. You only need the one wire from the collector of Q3 to the input of the amplifier. The reason you don't need another wire is because one side of the amplifier is already grounded. Well, that's it. That's the big update. Have fun and keep experimenting. Bye.